Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So, how do you like your news? You like the bad news first, or you like the good news first? Probably most people would want the bad news first and then to end off on a positive with the good news. Well, that's fine and dandy and all, but today we're doing the good news first and then we'll do the bad news. Trump's Manhattan trial, not the Alvin Bragg case, but the Letitia James case, the civil case, has officially started. It's about to get real wild. In fact, I'd argue it already is, or it already has. It's going to be trial after trial, bombshell after bombshell. And so I guess probably the way we should start off this video is by saying the Trump trials have officially begun. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so like I said, let's start off with the good news. The good news is that the whole statute of limitations thing that we've been talking about in a lot of these cases, well, apparently it's going to be a pretty relevant factor here, as Donald Trump announces to the media that 80% of his case, or rather 80% of Letitia James's case in New York, has essentially been thrown out due to the statute of limitations.
Well, I think that was very good. That last 5 minutes was outstanding because the judge essentially conceded that the statute of limitations that we won at the Court of Appeals is in effect. Therefore, about 80% of the case is over. I was going to come out and say that, as you know, we're not entitled to a jury, which is pretty unusual in the United States of America, so I think it's very unfair that I don't have a jury, but the judge's last statement was very fair, and if I read it right, I'll let perhaps one of the lawyers speak to it. But Cliff, maybe you'll speak to it if you would. But the way I interpret that, and the way everyone else in the room seems to interpret that, is that the statute of limitations is a very real thing in this country. And that would be about 80% of this case would be over. Could somebody speak to that, please? Cliff, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So based on the judge's comments, at the end of the trial today, it would appear that he is agreeing that all the transactions that closed prior to 2014 are now out of the case.
Which is about 80% of the case. And it's also something that we won on appeal, but was not accepted by this court, but now seems to be accepted by this.
So that's probably the first little bit of decent news. This not only applies to the civil case that Trump is facing in Manhattan, but other cases that Trump is facing as well, and so it's good to see at least that recognized. The statute of limitations would have applied to anybody else, and so obviously they should apply to Donald Trump as well. That's pretty much the good news. Roughly 80% of the civil case is likely to get dropped now. Onto the bad news. The bad news is that the election interference and the witch hunt continues. Very, very weird optics in the courthouse this morning, or maybe yesterday morning as you guys are watching this video. Here's the video that's making rounds pretty much everywhere.
Names now being shown in the background. You've got Trump in the foreground.
So we have the judge smiling ear to ear, happy, in fact, thrilled to be in the position that he's in, thrilled to address the media. A very weird situation. Then we have Letitia James staring down Donald Trump in very aggressive fashion. And that's, of course, not an isolated incident. It's not just this isolated situation of Letitia James staring down Donald Trump getting her moment in the media. No, it's that instance plus the context.
America is an uncharted territory. We are angrier and more deeply divided than we've ever been at any point in our history since the Civil War. And at the eye of the storm is Donald Trump, ripping families apart, threatening women's most basic rights, and running for Attorney General because I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president.
Trump, that should motivate you. Vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
I love it.
Now that's politician Letitia James making a name for herself as the current Attorney General, getting her moment in the media after campaigning essentially to go after Donald Trump. That's the important context here. In other words, the witch hunt continues. And Donald Trump is obviously pissed.
One doesn't have to be a lawyer to see the danger to anyone doing business in the Empire State. Anybody that does business in New York State is crazy. When you have a radical left Attorney General like Letitia James, who's a disgrace to our country, who got elected on the fact that she's going to take down President Trump. We're going to take him down. She knew nothing about it. But she got elected on that basis. And we have Others likewise. Take a look at what's going on in Georgia. Take a look at Jack Smith. Take a look at these people. This is called election interference, and worse than that, really much worse than that. And you don't get much worse than election interference, especially we're talking presidential election of 2024.
That is exactly what this is called. This is called election interference. Sure, was it fair for the judge to knock down 80% of the case, applying the statute of limitations? Sure, that was fair. But the fact that we're here in the first place, the fact that this whole thing is being televised, the fact that it's being used in the world of politics, the fact that the judge is smiling and Letitia James is getting her moment, her re-election campaign moment, the whole thing is disturbing. This is the former president of the United States. This is the top Republican frontrunner being legally harassed by legal entities in New York City over nonsense. This supposed fraud scheme. Again, I fail to understand the case. There has to be something I'm missing here, and maybe you guys can explain to me in the comment section. I still don't understand how you commit fraud with a property appraisal. I still don't understand the allegation that Trump was appraising his own buildings. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but my understanding is that third parties appraise properties, and so I really don't see how Donald Trump could be guilty of fraud here. But alas, probably without explanation, without even a jury involved, he's probably going to be found guilty. Donald Trump believes it's a foregone conclusion that the judge has already made up his mind.
So, this judge should change his ruling because Palm Beach County said he was totally wrong, and he was ruling based on them. He ruled we didn't even have a chance to testify. I got a call last week, sir, we lost part of the case. I said, the trial didn't even start. You know, the trial starts, I guess, today. He ruled that we lost a big part of the case because he's a Democrat club politician. He's a Democrat operative, and he's a disgrace to people that call themselves judges.
And so I guess the witch hunt continues. This case not exactly important, I guess, in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously it's important, but it's a civil case. I think the target of the case for the most part is more the Trump organization than it is Donald Trump specifically, but it is what it is. We're gonna get a show trial here, playing in front of the media, political theater for the masses to see, to hopefully change people's minds ahead of the next election cycle. Like every other case, I think it's utter garbage, but they're gonna drag this thing on endlessly. They're gonna turn it into primetime television. Meanwhile, crime in New York is skyrocketing. They won't deploy resources there, they won't lift a finger, but they'll certainly spend millions of dollars in their political persecution attempt. President Donald Trump. So there you go, there you have it. 80% of the case was dropped, but it probably doesn't change much, and whatever's going on in the courtroom is very alarming, to say the least. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.